I've been saying for ages I'd love to do a song in Elvish. There's not one happening right now, but you know what? I may do it one day. I definitely want to keep going and push it even further.
Joining us from somewhere out on the road where she's having a magical tour experience, that would be Maisy Kay. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Where are you right now, actually?
We are in Savannah, Georgia currently for our day off.
There's a nice beach there, actually. I used to live in Atlanta for a number of years, so Falcons hat over here. So,
Nice.
is that your plan for today? Maybe to hit the Savannah Beach?
Honestly, my plan is to get a nap in. I've been gotten so tired lately. I'm gonna sleep after this.
Life on the road must be exhausting. You've played a lot of shows so far, a couple more to go, supporting with Jake and Hariz on the What Tour Feels Like tour. And you mentioned the other day on whatever we're calling it, Twitter or X these days, I guess, that this
Oh.
tour, it has changed your life. Could you describe that change?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my first ever tour, and I think just having the first opportunity in my life to meet so many fans and make so many new fans and have people listen to the music in such a broader capacity, that's something that I've really always envisioned for myself, but didn't know if it would ever actually happen. So now that it's actually happening, it's every bit as magical as I hoped it would be.
Definitely a lot of dreams coming true. And you've always had this sort of whimsical, almost dreamlike sense to your visuals, to your music. There's a lot of fantasy inspiration. When we met very briefly backstage, you mentioned that you're from Hobbit country, right? Is that sort of where all this comes from for you?
Yeah, I've always really loved fantasy. I've had a very active imagination. I love Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, anything elvish. So I think I started realizing I could just incorporate more and more whimsy into my own artistry. Like no one was actually stopping me from doing that. And once I realized that, we just went full full force with it.
The most interesting part, though, about your fantasy inspirations and influences is that I read you taught yourself the fictional language from Avatar. What's it called? Navi? Is that right?
That would be, yeah.
Yeah. So, how does one do that?
Well, at the time there were not a lot of resources. I was 10 years old when I did that, so that it's been a minute.
Whoa.
At the time there were like a couple forums online from the man who made the language, Paul Frommer, and they had worksheets on the forum. So I remember I would literally do my regular school homework and then I'd print out the Nupvi workbooks and I'd do that homework as well. Like I was giving myself more homework, which sounds insane looking back on it.
Maybe, but it worked out. Those are some of the songs
It
that
was.
people really know you for that now. So you've done that. You've also sang on Japanese hits. You've obviously done music in English as well. Is that something that you see yourself continuing to do for a while in your career? Is like really exploring the world, both real and fictional, in your music and through your lyrics?
Yeah, I really hope so. I've been saying for ages I'd love to do a song in Elvish. I it, there's not one happening right now, but you know what? I may do it one day. I definitely want to keep going and push it even further.
See, that's such an interesting thing to kind of hear about because a lot of people in pop music don't get into that kind of stuff. And then a lot of people who are into that kind of stuff, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, etc., don't really like pop music. So you're an interesting bridge between the two. Why do you think you gravitate towards these two very different realms and kind of approach them with the same sort of intensity as, anybody who would be into one thing or just the other thing? Why are you into both?
Oh, well, I think I'm really inspired by powerful songwriters in pop music. I've really looked up to Taylor Swift for one for a long time and Adele and like they're definitely pop artists. And I think it's kind of cool because as you said, no one's really doing both things. So I think it's kind of fun to do something a little more mainstream sonically and then do something a little weirder visually. I think it's fun, and I think for me if I saw someone doing both I'd be really excited about it. So I'm trying to think like would I want to see this, and the answer is yes. So hopefully there are other people out there who also want to see it.
Well, it does seem like it. It seems like people are really enjoying your performances out on tour and hopefully enjoying the new song First Time as well. Lyrically, it's about going back to the first time in a romantic relationship and realizing that maybe things aren't working out now, but we'll always have that first time. So I wanted to ask you, Maisy Kay, what is one thing in your life that if you could go back and relive it for the first time all over again, what moment of your life would you want to do that with?
Oh, that's a really good question. Oh, okay. This is a little silly one. It's sentimental more than anything. But I think I'd love to go back to the day I adopted my cat. I got him from a rescue shelter, and he's my best friend in the whole world. And he and I connected immediately. It was so special. I wasn't even planning to adopt a cat, but we just fell in love, and I'll never forget that day. And I'd love to go back and relive it.
This is the other side of first time. It's your first time, and then it's going to be other people's first time. It can be hard to pin down your style. So, for a first time listener to Maisy Kay, what would you say you're welcoming them into when they press play?
We've been describing it as whimsical, ethereal pop, the newer stuff, including the upcoming EP, and I think that's the perfect tagline for it.
One of those songs had the chance to listen to just before it comes out, called After Midnight. And in the midst of all the whimsy and wonder, After Midnight sounds more like a 80s influenced, straightforward pop song. Almost feels like something that either you could have done it or Dua Lipa could have done it. Is that a different sort of approach for you that you won't be going back to? Is that a sign of more to come? Were you just having fun with a one-off here? Describe the process of this sound.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we can revisit. I wrote the song completely by myself on a piano, and hearing what we did with the production, it's funny you mentioned Dua Lipa because my producer messaged me when I sent him the song, and he goes, I'm thinking we should give it Dua Lipa vibes. And I was thinking, okay, that sounds amazing. Do it. So that's really funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah, it was there for sure with the bass line and some of the drum
Oh,
hits.
love a funky bass.
Right, right. Do you play any instruments by chance? Well, I guess you play piano, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
also play a little bit of guitar, but I mean a little bit. Like I can't do bar chords. It hurts. But I can do like G, D, A, like the basic ones.
sure, sure. You can see the bass guitar in the background for me.
I do see it.
I've definitely ripped up my fingers a whole bunch playing bar chords. So
Oh my
unless you
gosh,
really
yeah.
want it, one of these bad boys, a little capo, that'll
Yeah,
help you out.
yeah.
Because of course I just have that on my desk. But
I love that.
more shows supporting for Jake, and then After Midnight, and then an EP. And I hesitate to say what's next after that. Maybe you haven't thought that far, but maybe you have. What are you thinking the future holds for you?
We have a very exciting collaboration coming out at the start of next year after the EP. I'm guessing that's all I can say about it, but it's very, very exciting and that'll be awesome.
Very cool. Well, my lips are sealed about it right now, but when it comes out, I'll definitely be looking forward to hearing it. It was really cool kind of exploring the musical territory that you've had the chance to carve out for yourself, because like we were talking about earlier, it's unlike anything else that I'm aware of or that you're aware of, that anybody's aware of. A lot of the times when I speak to musicians, they are doing something really well, but they're not the first to do it. With you, Maisy Kay, you are the first to do whatever it is exactly you're doing. And so I want to give you lots of props for, blazing a new path.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome. And thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate the time.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.